Hey guys, welcome back, and we are now going to Fire at Will. This is the segment of the show where ourselves and our guests get to talk about whatever they like to talk about within the Trek world. So, as we have our guest host with us this evening, Sarah, would you like to start us off? And like I say, at the end of the day, the floor is yours. This is Fire at Will. You can do whatever you want, talk about whatever you want. Away you go.
Well, as it is Captain Picard Day, and we're talking about Picard and we're honouring his memory today, Picard was actually born in La Barre, France, and his parents ran a vineyard, which Picard later went to run when he retired from Starfleet. But funnily enough, there is actually a Chateau Picard wine produced, which is a French one, and that's sold through the American countries. But I don't think French wine's as good as American wines. Fight me.
Ooh, controversial. Okay.
No, she's right.
We'll edit that bit out.
Yeah. I much prefer Californian wine.
Ooh, wow, okay. Just to clarify, Sarah, the whole point of Fire at Will is you do not literally fire at each other. Just want to say that out there.
Yeah, you do.
I thought that this is what, the whole title of it, Fire at Will. I was kind of like, I thought this is Fight Me Time.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
So,
by the way, guys,
I think New World wines are better than Old World wines. When Picard's is obviously an Old World wine because it comes from Chateau Picard in La Barre, France, which is an Old World. I think that New Zealand, South African, and American wines are better. I hate myself for saying so because these are horrible places. Apart from New Zealand, New Zealand's a great country actually.
I'll tell you what annoys me is that the official Star Trek Picard Chateau Picard wine is produced in France
and only sold in America.
And only sold in America.
I have noticed that there does seem to be a distinct bias when it comes to these wines and speciality. I mean, because there's not just wines out there. I mean, there's a reserve whiskey, bourbon whiskey for James T. Kirk. There's talk about other drinks available, but they're very difficult to get outside of. But the difference between that and, say, the Chateau Picard element, which is rather confusing because we can't get it here, but say you can get it in the States. The reason for the other stuff being a bit of a problem is that the import-export taxes and tariffs and stuff like that make it particularly difficult to do. I mean, I spoke to when I was at Birmingham Destination Star Trek a couple of years ago. I was speaking to the company that makes the wine and the Kirk Reserve bourbon, and they were telling me that they were looking into doing a Scotch whiskey, a blended Scotch whiskey, in honor of Scotty, and I thought, oh, that's a brilliant idea. But it was at that point that she was saying the difficulty they have is they have to meet certain criteria and have to do certain things and meet certain all sorts. So it makes it extremely difficult to do. But still, there is I think there is a sort of, we have to, especially here in the UK. I don't know if it's the same for anybody else out there in the rest of the world, but definitely here in the UK, we have to import a lot of our Trek merchandise and stuff like that. So that is something that can get a bit tedious, especially if you're a wine aficionado like Sarah and Gregor are. They would love to get their hands on some of that Chateau Picard.
We're working.
There's a bottle up the road.
Well, I don't forget, I asked you to get me one as well, so don't forget that.
Anyway,
okay?
So there we go. So to get back onto the thing.
Yeah.
So the other problem is provenance. You like my link there, provenance. Talking about the whiskey here is that one of the problems they may run into if they're going to do a whiskey to celebrate Scotty, well, they're going to have to figure out where he was actually born, because we've got quite a few places that lay claim to him, as in Lithgow, as in Elgin, As
Hence
in,
the reason why one of the reasons why they were going to go with a blended whiskey, because of that. Because of that dispute, because I did say that, oh, there's some really good single malts out there, and so well, we did look at single malts, but we, if we go for a certain region, and it's, there might be like, one of the others might get, we're really not like that. We don't give a monkeys. If it just says Scotty on it, and we'll drink it. We don't
oh
care.
no, there's a plaque in Linlithgow that lays claim that Scotty was born there, and Elgin have also laid claim to him.
Wasn't Linlithgow the place that the Doohan family officially endorsed as what they believed?
It's never actually referenced in any of Star Trek lore. He always refers to Bonnie Scotland. He talks about being Scottish. It's a huge part of his identity. And the actor, obviously being Canadian, would have loved Scotland, but they never actually place it. Whereas we know Kirk's from Iowa, and we've got where's Archer? He comes from Midwest, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, he's from farm country as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, and Janeway has a city that they always refer to, a place of home, but his is never actually mentioned, unfortunately. So
it's one of those things where
Linlithgow came from with their particular claim to it, but it would be interesting to try and do the malt, because that would be a problem. Anything to do with Iowa, because they've got a plaque for Kirk. They've got their future birthplace plaque.
They did try and get that for Linlithgow, but like I say, they couldn't nail it down. And I don't.
He's in the museum. He's in the town museum, actually.
They wanted a road sign outside, just like the future birthplace of Captain Kirk. They wanted that for Linlithgow, but for reasons that escape me at this moment in time, they couldn't get it. But yeah, I mean, it's it's the strong relation with Aberdeen is he does reference Aberdeen as or he's referenced as being an Aberdeen pub crawler.
Yeah.
I'll try that again. Pub crawler. So yeah, I mean, but then again, like I say, it's one of those things where he could have studied in Aberdeen University or whatever, Again,
it wouldn't have been a big deal in those times, would it? Because you would have just.
It's open to discussion. I mean, they definitely need to nail it down somewhere so they can have somewhere for Scotty. I mean, he's such an influential character, such a well-known character that we need one. The Scottish fandom need to have this shrine to Scotty, to somewhere to go to and say, yeah, he's ours.
The one that does surprise me, actually, is that we don't have more of them associated, because we don't actually have a brand of Earl Grey tea called Picard, do we? Or do we?
No, and to be honest with you, I think a lot of this boils down to rights, ownership, copyrights. You see what I did there? Yeah. I mean, the Chateau Picard wine, for example, when they asked to use, to sell the wine as a, the film reference wine, they had to go through so much stuff to get the actual Chateau Picard to allow them to change the date and change. They weren't allowed to change anything else. Very little else on the actual bottle itself was allowed to be changed. Because they wanted to basically put labels on it, do it like they did, like the film, like they had in the film, but they weren't allowed to do it because, like I say, there is an actual Chateau Picard. So they had to come to some sort of agreement. They were only allowed to sell it in certain places. They were only allowed to do so many, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I would imagine that the same thing would happen with tea. I mean, that would actually be pretty awesome if they actually did that, sold that as a brand,
What else could you? What would? Because the Data had that green thing. So I'm kind of thinking now. Each character, what drink could they have? Because obviously, Jamie's coffee. Data is green. Scotty is whiskey. But what would?
Worf's prune juice.
Prune juice, yes. Worf drinks his prune juice.
Yeah.
Which is, he was introduced to that by Guinan, wasn't he? But what?
Kanar.
Yeah. Drinking Kanar with the Ma. But actually, I don't think, what would Kirk drink? So I know that you mentioned there's a bourbon for him, but was that really his drink of choice? We never really see
Never
him.
seen
I
him,
think he'd be
no.
more of a beer drinker, actually.
I mean, I know he does. It does have
Romulan ale,
was-
actually, goes for, doesn't he?
Yeah.
in the new films the drink they do have a drink for his father's birthday in the Kelvin film, and the first one I believe, because he pulls it out of the cupboard and says that it was Chekhov's. He got it out of Chekhov's cupboard or something. Dr. McCoy said he got this out of Chekhov's place, and he sort of references, "Oh, I thought it was more of a vodka man," So, no, but it was like a Scotch whiskey. But I couldn't.
I remember Wrath of Khan that he gets the gift of Tale of Two Cities from Spock, the book. But Bones comes around later and he gives him a pair of glasses and a bottle of Romulan ale. So, and he also drinks that in Star Trek 6 and Discover Country. They have that for dinner because it's the line where it says Romulan ale should be illegal.
Yes, I mean,
cracking line. So obviously, but what is Romulan ale? Do we think? Because other than the fact
Blue
that it's
Wicked,
blue,
isn't it?
so a bottle of Blue Wicked Romulan ale and Green Thing for Data, that did actually have a name. It was some kind of, because in Relics, it's referenced, obviously he digs it up from the bar. And
Older brand whiskey.
Older brand whiskey, but it's green whiskey. I'm not sure I'd drink that. Janeway's got coffee. Picard's got his tea and his wine, obviously.
Chakotay's got his hallucinogenics.
Okay, they're probably not really legal. Yeah, maybe some fizzy pop for him then.
Mm-hmm. Well, they all drink Ractogino in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, which is basically a coffee drink, isn't it?
Yeah.
What would Spock drink then?
Okay, so
Like comic soup, but that's the soup. What would his tipple be? I mean, presumably he's probably teetotal, but
Miles O'Brien likes Scotch whiskey.
yeah. Got another whiskey drinker there then.
seems to be a bit of a theme going off.
Blood wine yet? Why haven't we got a blood wine drinker? That's probably Barolo, isn't it?
Yeah, Barolo.
Yeah.
I do believe a lot of these you can actually make up. I don't know if anybody has it. I mean, I know you've got a copy because I've got a copy as well of Neelix's cookbook.
Yeah.
And it does have a section in there where it tells you how to make the drinks, how to basically replicate Quark's bar. So, I'd say if anybody's got that, have a look in there and see what you can come up with.
It's sold a few, but the Romulan ale was Blue Wicked. This was at the Vegas convention. They were selling them at the bar, but the blood wine was some horrible, really sickly.
There was some kind of cocktail that was horrible.
It was not nice. It was not what I expected it to be. More like a thick, like Barolo is basically, it's better known as bull blood wine.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's almost syrupy when it pours. That's what I would have expected. And if I'm gonna drink that from the skulls of my defeated enemy, then I want that to be good wine and not some sickly sweet cocktail. Quite frankly.
Because I know that reading up on it as well, they actually, when they did the drinks in the show and all that, I mean, a lot of it was like stuff like grape juice and and all this sort of thing. But they did put a lot of thought into making these things look believable, realistic. And making them sort of like consistencies and stuff like that, and the food as well. I mean, that's another interesting element to that.
Play-Doh.
But the thing is, though, is in some instances they actually did make real food or use real food to make. I mean, like tags, for example. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly how they did it, but they used various different carcasses from different animals and crabs and stuff like that, to actually, and God knows what else, to make these creatures that you see on some of these banquet tables. I mean, obviously they were edible because they'd be under hot studio lights all day, but they used real.
What was Deanna's drink? Deanna had that sunset one. Remember
Can't remember.
It was sunrise, wasn't it?
I thought it was a sunset. It was something where it's a cocktail that they make up for her, and it does this whole colour change thing. It's quite beautiful, actually. It is a cocktail. So there's Deanna's drink. What would Riker be?
Riker was beer.
Riker a beer man.
Riker's
He's a
a
bit of a
beer
frat
man.
boy, isn't he? Big keg of beer. But do you think he's an American Pale Ale beer, or you think he's a malty beer drinker?
No, I think he would be what I've heard referred to as a NASCAR beer sort of guy. You know, fast and loose. The stuff you usually take the piss out of me for drinking. You know, it's like you actually drinking.
Light or something like
Oh
that. Yeah.
no, he's better than that, surely. No. What about Geordie? Geordie seems a bit more refined, doesn't he? Then, so what would he?
I think you know something. I think Geordie would be. I would think he would be a bourbon man.
Ah.
I think he would be a bourbon man because I mean it gets, you know, I honestly genuinely think that bourbon is a drink that is heavily underestimated, and it doesn't. I mean, there's some great flavors and tastes and products out there. I mean, I'll not mention any because I'm not plugging anything, but there are so many out there that are really good, and most people just think of, you know, the two main ones, you know, and one of them isn't even actually a bourbon. Probably already guessed which one that one is, but there are huge amounts out there and some really sophisticated and rather expensive ones. I would actually say it would be, I would hazard a guess it would be a bourbon man. I genuinely, honestly believe it would be a bourbon man.
So, original series, we've got Kirk's Romulan Ale, Bones' whiskey, isn't he? He's another whiskey drinker.
Maybe a bourbon man.
Bourbon.
Or moonshine.
Quite possibly. Scotty's the whiskey drinker. What about Sulu?
Sake. Why not? Grew up in San Francisco.
And then Chekhov, we're assuming anything that came from Mother Russia, obviously for Chekhov.
Vodka.
Yeah.
Whiskey was invented in Russia.
Yes. And the Garden of Eden was just outside St. Petersburg, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's reference as well. Yeah. I did love that little recurring theme. Everything came from Russia. Yeah. Have we missed anybody? That's the Helm Engineering. Yeah. Spock. We haven't got a drink for Spock.
I think, to be honest with you, I mean, I would probably assume that it would be a non-alcoholic or something of that description.
Do you think he'd go for the mocktail, or do you think he's that Puritan? But not pure. Do you think he's that much of a purist? He'd just drink pure water.
I think he would, as a, you know, as a true Vulcan, as somebody that follows the Vulcan way and all that. I think he would be just like, you know, fruit juices and stuff like that. Maybe I don't know. But if you had to nail down an alcoholic drink, let's just put it out there. If you had to nail down a drink for Spock, what would you guess?
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume his half human side takes preference and he has an alcoholic drink.
I think he'd go for something quite refined. I think he'd probably go for a single malt. I think he'd probably say on the single malt because he would probably regard anything that Bones likes as being bear skins and stone knives. Therefore, Scotty, you know, he'd maybe go and side on his one on the whole bourbon Scotch thing. I don't know.
What about gin?
Yeah. We could. It could be a gin like actually, yeah.
Because that is something that can be very refined and.
Could see him for that one, yeah.
I'd say I would say gin. That would be my guess. What would you, Gregor? What would you guess?
Brandy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, maybe that.
Yeah, I think that's but we definitely think he's not a pint man, is he?
No, definitely not. No. What I will say though is going back to Riker a little bit. I would actually probably say he would actually be a corn whiskey moonshine kind of guy.
You reckon?
I reckon he's enough of a sort of a, you know, like you say, he's a.
No, he's from Alaska. Yeah, from Alaska, so I think beer.
Yeah. Beer spillers. Who we got there? So we've got Data with these whiskies. What was the
green?
Yeah, the green whiskey. Geordie, what did we say he was going to drink?
I sort of estimated a bourbon, but like I say, I could be wrong. You know,
I think it probably fits. Yeah.
LeVar Burton, if you see this, what would Geordie drink? Let us know.
Now, Marina, Diana, we can't remember, but she definitely asked for this beautiful cocktail, and she's very much a cocktail girl, I think. What about Beverly? I think maybe a gin drinker.
You think?
No, I think doesn't she sort of let us into that little sort of secret a couple of times in TNG when she's having dinner with Picard? Does she not reveal her? Is it not a wine? Is she not a wine drinker as well?
Could be a wine connoisseur, yeah.
Maybe cognac, because you know that's.
Oh.
What about Luxana?
Oh, champagne. She's a champagne girl, isn't she?
Champagne and caviar.
Oh, only the finest. Only the finest. Yes, she's. I don't know, but just even bringing it to mind, I think bubbles. Something sparkling, vivacious and fun.
Ostentatious.
No, there's a lot of refinement with champagne.
Cristal?
Yeah, Bollinger,
Cristal. That
Cristal.
would have to be
Cristal.
Cristal.
Yeah.
Just to point out, if anybody's actually still watching at this point, this is what happens when you get three alcoholics into the same conversation and try and talk about Star Trek. It just ends up being about beer and
yeah. And I know I said French wine.
that one, yeah.
If anybody wants to prove me wrong about French wine actually not being rubbish, I'm happy to be challenged on that one.
Bring home a French
Send
wine?
it.
That is a whole different podcast.
I'll do a taste test on that one. So what's Cisco? Because Cisco actually has one in the Pale Moonlight, doesn't he? He's drinking a spirit, isn't he? He's a spirit drinker.
He's not a bourbon, is he?
Is it a bourbon?
It must be.
He's certainly got a spirit glass in when he does the toast in Pale Moonlight, which I love that. I can live with it.
Cisco must be a bourbon man. He comes from New Orleans. Star owns a restaurant in New Orleans.
What about Bashir?
They're quite big on the liqueurs down there as well, though. To be fair.
Bashir.
I think Bashir's going to be a really snooty
Pins.
white wine drinker.
No, it's just Bashir's Pins.
You think?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, aye. He definitely comes across like that guy in the Pims advert.
Bashir's definitely a Pins man.
Right.
He was in Coco Chat. Yes.
Kira.
Oh.
I think she'd like a pretty strong something, wouldn't she?
Oh, I think she definitely would be a shiner.
Yeah.
Something like
resistance. Doing things on the fly. In the middle of nowhere, making something up. You can't get supplies.
Sweet vodka.
Well, you can shine vodka. You can make vodka. You can make whiskey. You can make rum. You can do all these things. The only difference is that you can't tell the difference between the 2 and 3 until you drink them.
What do we think then?
Rum.
Oh, rum, yeah, possibly. What about Garrett?
Oh. Plain, simple Garrett.
Just a Taylor.
Oh, Garrett's got to be a cocktail person.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I think he would be, wouldn't he? Or would he be a martini? Would he be a martini man?
He could be.
I think he would be. I think he'd be an all-rounder because, I think he'll just be that kind of guy that he'll have his favourite, but he'll drink something else just to make you think that's the one.
Maybe some days he has a black Russian. Maybe other days he has a white Russian. I don't know.
Other Russians are available.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him drinking martini actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's an all-rounder. I think Garrett would be an all-rounder because he would have to fit into his persona that in this case a simple Taylor.
This one for you was Odo obviously as a changeling didn't eat or drink. However, he was for a short time a full solid because they took away because he actually had to. So
he was drinking beer.
Was he
You
drinking
drink,
beer?
you like the bubbles.
Yeah. No, but no, there was scenes where he was drinking beer then.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Do you like the bubbles?
He's a confirmed beer drinker then, Zarodo. Wolf obviously has prune juice. What about Quark? What does he usually go for?
The cheapest, so we can make the most profit.
What was it Morn drank?
Oh, I don't know.
That was an ale, wasn't it?
Hmm?
That was always good. He always had a tankard. He never had,
No, because when they're doing the memorial service for Morn,
Yes,
which you haven't got to yet,
great episode.
Spoiler alert.
Talks about the drink that Morn used to drink.
Because he encourages everybody to buy
Aye.
one and keep Morn's seat warm. It's a good one, that, yeah.
Can we change the subject? Because I'm getting just talking about it.
Where are you? Where are you in DS9 then? You started it.
To be fair, I've not actually got any further along with it. But I am going to start. Really, I'm going to start with that one.
And you're back at work in a week?
Yeah.
You're getting so many references you're missing out on.
I know.
But you know what? That's what makes this thing beautiful, is that you can talk about all that stuff and I won't have a Scooby-Doo, and
Naivety, yeah.
there's always got to be one in the group that doesn't have a Scooby-Doo, and that's the simpleton right here.
Yeah. No arguments here.
I know, I didn't think you would ever have any arguments on that one, to be perfectly honest with you, Gregor.
So obviously the big news last week was the STLV being postponed
To
December, and along with a change of date, there was a change of venue as well.
Big news.
Yes, I've been watching the chatter on this one, and it seems there's a bit of mixed emotions with the change of venue. There's a lot of sentimentality. A few people referencing the fact that the new venue won't be as intimate or as as exclusive as the previous one, because this one's a bit more of a an open.
Hotels that are linked to it, but there's one hotel will be used for like a convention rate. I don't think the Rio was getting tired, so it's no surprise. The main reason they'd never moved from the Rio though is because that's got the unobstructed views, the largest floor space with unobstructed views.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to fit it elsewhere would have been too difficult because they were actually having to take chairs out because nobody's going to pay to sit behind a pillar.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they were waiting for someone somewhere that was big enough. But I can understand also people had places because there was the Masquerade Bar, which was where everybody congregated. There were other bars available in the Rio, but the Masquerade Bar was where everybody went. All the talent, the convention attendees, the salespeople all went there. So there is kind of like, now where's it going to be? Because that was a focal point until the wee small hours. I mean, the bar was tiny. It wasn't even actually a room in itself, was it? It was just a terrace.
Yeah.
Which time we just spilled out all across the floor space in the casino hall. It was fantastic, but that just became the meetup point really. So it's going to be what's going to replace that. In terms of the pool, though, it looks much the same.
No, there's a pool complex, but it's in one of the other hotels. But there's unlikely to be a pool party in December.
Oh, too cold.
It's Vegas. Come on. I mean, it's probably going to be warmer in Vegas in December than it is in here.
No, it's desert, so it's cold in the winter.
For us, it'll be tropical for us.
Yeah. We'll be like, oh, it's lovely, shorts and t-shirt, and they'll be freezing to death.
If you're from Southern California, probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on the fact that it's been postponed till December and not postponed until next year? Because I mean, do you think there's going to be enough confidence for it to go ahead, or do you think it's a little bit too premature to announce the date?
Well, I wonder actually if this is a bit of a kind of an opportunity to gather some more money, and then.
Well, I think they'll have got. I think the change of venue was on the cards.
Yeah, that's.
I think this was the last year that the Rio was contracted for it. The Caesars, who did own the Rio, have obviously invested heavily in this new convention centre. Vegas is still closed and only just opening up at the moment with a number of restrictions. So this brand new convention centre's probably had a lot of cancelled conventions, got a lot of things booked. So I think Creation have probably had a great deal on the convention centre because it's mutually beneficial to have a high profile event to launch this new convention centre. Then going forward, it will be the new home from August next year. I can see no reason for them to move it from August because that's peak holiday season. I think they'll probably still get a reasonable crowd at it. Where are they get the guests that they're after? Because if in America they're classing anyone over as 65 as having to shield at the moment. So whether you'll get any of the talent that want to go is a different question. And what international travel restrictions are on as well is another question.
And that's something that's going to affect the convention scene here in the UK for a couple of years as well, at least until confidence properly regains itself. I mean, I know that Destination Star Trek is still in limbo at this present moment in time. It is slated for November, I believe, at the moment.
Yeah, the biggest problem with that is it's currently a hospital.
Yeah.
So the other problem we've got as well, though, is a huge chunk, if not all, of the possible talent that could be invited to a convention here in the UK lives in the States or outside of the UK in general. So are they going to be able to get the stars in? I mean, it is Voyager's 25th anniversary year, and it was something to look forward to seeing all the Voyager cast there, but are they going to be able to make it? Is it going to happen? And with it being so close to the new scheduled date for the main event, Star Trek Las Vegas, that could also be an issue as well, especially if they start filming a lot of the programs, a lot of the stuff that's in the pipeline, stuff that's waiting to go but can't because of the restrictions. That's all going to start happening in earnest. So there's going to be people with filming schedules and all that, So, but one thing I will say though, and some of you that were, all six of you that are watching, probably have been involved in one of the numerous virtual cons that have been going on. I mean, I know Greg and Sarah, you've dabbled in a couple of events in the last couple of months that have been online, both at the amateur level and the professional level as far as conventions and groups are concerned. Do you think this could possibly be the new way to go with this sort of thing?
I think we've been incredibly lucky having the technology we've got, and it's been a massive success. It's been almost this is actually given the big push for it, but everywhere, because certainly in work life we've suddenly been pushed to doing virtual meetings. It had always been we should do this more often, we should do this more often. Never happened, and then we have to. So, but they are working really well, and I know that the last one we attended was a Next Generation cast reunion, and it was fantastic. They were loving it because they were getting people from all over the world. We hadn't left our kitchen, and we were able to converse with them. So they were certainly enjoying it because for them it's a lot less travel, it's a lot less fatigue, it's a lot less hassle. I think there's going to be a lot more of it. And certainly San Diego Comic Con, I believe, is now going fully online.
San Diego Comic Con is fully online in July, and it's free for everyone.
That is the fundamental thing, and that is a wonderful gesture by San Diego Comic Con.
And they could easily charge. The couple we've been to that have been fee-paying events, and there's a couple that have been free, and the fee ones have been a minimum of $1. So
which is not a lot to be sniffed at, to be fair, is it? Really, I mean, that's...
for what you're getting. I mean, there's been a few on a sliding scale of if you pay more money, you'll get a 5-minute one-to-one, which, to be quite frank, is just too short a time, really. But also some of
there's ones out there. These 5-minute one-to-ones are okay because they're getting marketed on a couple of the big Facebook pages. But Alexander Siddig's doing his Sid City stuff.
Yeah, he's lovely.
and there's a few others doing stuff, and I think this will change. You know, there's been a number of big name talent that has done stuff that have basically allowed the public to get direct access to them through Zoom or some other platform. And you know, that may change what people expect when they get to a convention. It's quite hard to get that kind of access at a convention. The other side of that is that maybe between conventions now, we might see a lot more of these little digital events. Because they're a great marketing tool. If you want to sell tickets for your convention, they're a fantastic marketing tool.
I've thoroughly enjoyed them, actually. They've had a few group ones which have been fantastic. I've seen a group Voyager and a group TNG, and well, not a group, but there was Dominic and Connor from Enterprise that also got together. But like I say, they're in their own homes as well, so it's great for them. And there's been a variation in the levels of finesse on them, because I know Chase did one and she had somebody fielding all the questions and then basically filtering through them and putting them through to her screen for her to answer, and others were just kind of picking random stuff off. But there's certainly a lot to be said for them, and we've all got the tech now. Well, the vast majority of the population has got the tech. So I think it's one of the good things that's come out of this pandemic nonsense that we've actually we've changed for the better on that front.
Definitely. I mean, that's one thing we all need to do, is just focus on the good things that are coming out of this, and like I say, just continue to be safe, and like I say, as long as we all keep doing what we're supposed to be doing, we'll be able to go back. I mean, I've seen some impassioned video clips from Marina Sirtis posted one recently where she was basically saying, thank you guys for all your support, we all love you, we look forward to getting back to seeing you, you guys are, you know, what we live for, you know, and it's, you know, it's a genuine, heartfelt, you know, thank you to the fans, and it's good that, and they want to get back to doing this as much as we want to get back to doing this as well. So, you know, I mean, the fact that they're still able to engage with us and we're still able to engage with them, it's amazing. And the technology is just, you know, I mean, we are so lucky, and a lot of it inspired by Star Trek, you know, so it's a bit of a, you know, a bit of a sort of a beautiful cliche.
Well, we've been incredibly lucky, and there's a lot of stuff got off the ground really well with it, but I think it's going to be here for quite a while to come, because I don't think we're ever going back to anything. I think we're merging into a new world order, as it were.
Definitely, and
well, just based on history alone, I mean, the previous flu, post First World War flu, went on for about 2.5-3 years, and obviously things are different now in terms of advances of medicine, but things are also different in terms of transport. It was actually the fact that most people were on the move that led to the spread of that virus particularly quickly, because they were all returning home after the war, which was what the main movement of people was one of the things that led to it actually spreading so quickly. So yeah, this is going to be around for quite a while. But the other thing is, if it's not COVID, there'll be another one.
Climate change.
Well, no, I'm talking about viruses. There'll be another virus.
That are going to
this has just been one. We already had it with MERS. We've had SARS, and we were very lucky that they got contained very quickly. And COVID's been the first one that's actually breached effectively. So there will be another one following it. And I think
we're definitely not out of it. And like I say, I think
it's so easy. And isn't it strange how it's something that you can't even physically see has caused so much change?
And you know what? I mean, there's a lot of, I have not been near a television screen, a newspaper. I mean, I see little bits and bots on Facebook and on Twitter and stuff like that, you know. I mean, I don't intentionally want to be ignorant to what's going on, but I want to focus on the positives, you know. So that's what I am doing. Whenever anything positive comes along, you know, I engage with it and push it forward. And that's what's been really good about the Star Trek community, is that everybody's been pulling together, doing. I mean, the amount of to be fair, we're one of them. The amount of podcasts that have started up through this, the amount of people that have wanted to entertain their fellow fans and stuff like that has gone through the roof, and everybody's doing their own thing. Brilliant. And like I say, it's amazing that everybody has done what they're doing, and it makes me so glad to be part of this community and part of a fandom that actually genuinely looks out for each other. Genuinely. And that is the most amazing thing, I think, to come out of this, is that we've actually rediscovered even the love and the family that is Star Trek, both fans and actors alike. So I think that's a brilliant thing to come out of it. It really is. I don't know if you guys agree with that sentiment or not, or whether have you have any.
Over to you.
Okay, good. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Yeah, but it's been good, and they've really pulled together as well, because there's been a lot. I mean, it would be quite easy for them to say, actually, no, I'm going to go and play with my jigsaws and read my books and take that time out. They've actually been really quite active in giving the time for this sort of stuff and chatting, but they genuinely seem enthused by it as well, which has been lovely.
I mean, it's we've been talking about, like, say, doing stuff like this for a while, but it took this pandemic thing to kick us asses into actually putting it together and doing it, and we are sort of making it up as we're going along, but we're having, the thing is, we're having fun. Me and Greg are definitely having fun doing this, and long may it continue. But the fundamental thing is that the whole thing is that people are doing now what we're doing, what everybody else is doing, but it gives people hope that they can do it together. They can actually, they're still, like, we hopefully one day we'll be all sat on the same couch doing this. Which I'm.
A big couch.
What was that, Gregor?
It'll have to be a big
He
couch.
said, we're going to need a bigger couch. Actually, we would need a bigger couch, but there we go.
Was that not a Jaws reference?
Yeah. Have you seen the film Alpha Papa with Cole Meany?
I haven't, no. To my
Alan Patrick film, and Cole Meany's wife was killed, and he's talking to one of the other characters. He shows them a picture of his wife and says, "That was her before the angels took her." And the guy says, "Was there a lot of them?"
Brilliant.
It's horrible.
On that note, I think we will bring this to a lovely end. Just brings me nicely to the main shameless plug for today's episode. I think we really should start doing these at the start so that we actually have people watching the plugs. But anyway, some of you may or may not have already seen Marooned on SETI Alpha 5, but Sarah Adams here is the host of our sister show, Marooned on SETI Alpha 5, where Star Trek meets Desert Island Discs, and it's a great insight into people like myself and other crewmates from the USS Alba, and their choices of shows and entertainment that they would be quite happily stranded with. So if you haven't checked that out just yet, please do go ahead and check that out. That's all available on the USS Alba Recreation Department channel, including previous episodes, and all new episodes will be launched directly to the channel. So Sarah, would you like to make any comments, say anything, plug your show? It is your baby. Let's go with it.
All right, come and be marooned on SETI Alpha 5. You get to choose 8 episodes of Star Trek. I will allow you to include double episodes and movies. You'll also get to take a book and a luxury item. And yeah, it will take you some time to think about that, but we'll chat about your choices and why you got into Star Trek.
So, guys, if anybody would like to be involved in this, we will have our Twitter handles available on screen round about now. And you can either get in touch with Spock the Week, Gregor, or myself, and just let us know that you want to be involved. And if you want to be involved on Spock the Week, by all means, same thing. Just give us a bell, and we will quite happily get in touch with you guys and get you on the shows. So with that being said, I'd like to thank Gregor and Sarah for joining me this evening, and I hope you've had as much fun as I have.
What a difficult concept.
Yes, fun. It's been fun on the couch with Sarah.
Drinking tea.
Yes, just we live together. That's why we're not socially distanced. If anyone's wondering, same household.
Actually, to be honest with you guys, this is the closest they've been together the whole. Normally.
Yeah, can you switch that camera off now?
And on that note, guys, it's time to sign off. So, as we've already done, thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time. Cheers, bye.